I'm simply curious to know whether you intend to take any active part in this affair.
That depends on circumstances.
Then I'm afraid I must ask, what circumstances?
I have some evidence. What it is worth, I do not yet know. Nor do I know whether the police have observed the same set of facts.
You know perfectly well they haven't.
I suspect they have not. I do not yet know it of my own knowledge.
You're being exceptionally professorial today.
That may be.
May I hazard a guess as to why?
Dear Jarvis, I've been trying to teach you for years not to indulge in guessing.
You were annoyed with your students, those dumb animals who sit and take notes and learn nothing.
Students are students. I accept their stupidity.
On top of your annoyance at your evident failure to teach them anything comes your even greater annoyance at your failure to teach the police force of this metropolis.
The police had exactly the same opportunities as myself this morning to discover what was significant.
You rang, sir?
Polton. How refreshing to see someone who's not a fool.
Yes, sometimes, sir.
This piece of moulding wax, which pray handle with care, shows the impression of a candle end.
I'll be careful, sir.
It will show the shape of the socket in which the candle was held. It will also, I imagine, show the thumb and fingerprints of whoever held the candle in his or her right hand.
You want a cast of it, sir?
Please.
Mrs. Hobbs wants to know if you wanted lunch, sir.
Please.
Right.
Invaluable fellow.
Indeed. I ask again, are you going to help the police?
I shall do everything in my power to assist the authorities. That is a matter of common citizenship.
Do you, forgive me, consider yourself to be a common citizen?
If you want to know what was on the girl's pillow, just take a look at this. It's rather a pretty specimen.
But this is foraminifera.
I think.
Then it's not silver sand after all.
Nope.
And not from the sand soap.
Certainly not.
Then what?
It is a message to us from the deep sea, from the floor of the Eastern Mediterranean.
Can you read the message?
Not yet. What are you doing this afternoon?
What are you going to ask me to do?
I have a faculty meeting at 3, which will take heaven knows how long.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Go back to Harrow Alley. Talk to Mrs. Goldstein. I want a list of all the people who were, what shall we say, closely acquainted with the dead girl. I want their names, addresses, and occupations.
Why their occupations?
My dear Jarvis, pray don't indulge in mental indolence. You have the essential facts as I have them. Consider them separately, collectively, and in relation to the circumstances.
Well, I was only trying to...
Consider the oiling of the locks on the street door and on the girl's door. Consider the marks on the stairs. Consider the absence of a candle in the bedside candlestick. Consider what you have just seen under the microscope. And don't attempt to suck my brain when you have an excellent brain of your own to suck.
Oh! Good afternoon. May I speak to Mrs. Goldstein?
You was here this morning?
Yes.
Police?
No.
What do you want, then?
I simply want a few words with Mrs. Goldstein. Of course, if you'd prefer me to speak to the policeman...
Come in.
Thank you.
You was with that other one?
That's right. Dr. Thorndyke. I'm his partner.
Listen, May O'Brien did it. What else do you want to know?
Do you believe May O'Brien did it?
Of course, she hated Minna, didn't she? She said she'd kill her. I heard her myself. Minna was my friend.
Forgive me. Why did she hate Minna?
I've already told the police all this. Why should I tell you?
I want to see justice done.
Oh, you'll see it done all right. Oh, yes. Anybody here will tell you the same. Ever since Minna come over from Germany.
She was
come
German.
over a year ago and May had a sweetheart, or thought she had, Sam Turner. And Minna took him away from her. And quite right, too, if you ask me. He was too good for that May. So that's why. And anybody will tell you.
And you yourself heard May O'Brien say she would kill?
Only last week, here where I'm standing now. There was me and Minna and Edie Johnson from the second floor front. And we was going out for a bit of a walk, you know. And May comes in. And she starts shouting at Minna and calling her names because of Sam. And Minna just laughed at her and told her she could have Paul Petrovsky instead.
Paul Petrovsky?
He was Minna's friend when she first come over before she took up with Sam. You don't know much, do you?
And you heard May say...
We all heard her, every one of us. She said, Minna Adler, I'm going to cut your throat one of these nights, even if I swing for it.
Kate Wilfer, you get along upstairs.
Well, it's the gospel truth. and she knows it same as I do.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Goldstein. I have a message from Dr. Thorndyke, who was here with me this morning and who's taking an interest in this case.
What's he going to take an interest in it for?
Dr. Thorndyke is a very eminent man.
Can he bring the dead back to life, then?
He's often saved people from dying.
Tell him to get here a bit sooner next time.
Dr. Thorndyke is anxious to arrive at the truth of this affair.
She told you the truth, didn't she?
Mrs. Goldstein, this morning you didn't believe that Mayor Bryan could have committed this crime.
Well, I know better now, don't I? From that detective.
The police aren't always right.
Around these parts, they're right.
Dr. Thorndyke is anxious to have a list of the people who knew the dead girl with their addresses and occupations.
No.
He has good reasons.
You tell your Dr. Thorndyke I've got a life to live around here. I'm not going to get no more people mixed up in this, not when I don't have to. Not for your doctor. You tell him so from me. If he wants any lists, he goes to the police for them.
Dr. Thorndyke has friends of importance in the police.
Well, then he's all right, isn't he?
Mrs. Goldstein, are you aware of the present law relating to common lodging houses being used as brothels?
Girls, he's all working girls.
Are you aware of the law relating to the importation of prostitutes from abroad?
You can't say that. She was a waitress. Empire Restaurant, Fenchurch Street.
Oh, yes, I'm sure all your girls have other jobs during the daytime. Except Kate?
She's been poorly.
Yes. All I'm saying, Mrs. Goldstein, is do you want Dr. Thorndyke to talk to Superintendent Miller of Scotland Yard? Or would you prefer to make out that list? Good evening. Sorry I'm late.
Hello, Jarvis. Dr. Jarvis, my colleague. Mr. Sam Turner, whose address you were so good as to obtain for me.
How do you do?
Miss Minna Adler's particular friend.
Yes.
Mr. Turner is afraid that I might be prying, I think was the word, and he doesn't want me to pry.
What's the use of it?
Exactly. So we haven't discussed the case at all.
Oh,
Well, what's the use? Poor Minna is dead. I've offered our deepest sympathies.
of course.
Her murderess is arrested. That's that. So instead, we've discussed a glass of tea.
I'll be off then.
We've also discussed Mr. Turner's work
Porter.
Oh, yes, I know.
in a warehouse in the Minories. Did you know, Jarvis, that the new season's crop of sponges from Turkey arrived a few days ago?
No, I didn't.
Mr. Turner says they should be in the shops by the end of the week. We must look out for them.
Yes?
Particularly since our own sponge is overdue for honorable retirement. Well, goodbye, Mr. Turner. And I promise not to pry.
I didn't mean no harm, Cap.
Neither did I, Mr. Turner. Neither did I.
I don't want to see you wasting your time. Well, thanks for the tea.
Would you mind settling up, please, Jarvis?